Remember how I said that I thought that there was a good chance that Sam Bankman-Fried had hundreds of millions of dollars stored away somewhere? Do I think that Sam Bankman-Fried has burrowed away hundreds of millions of dollars for himself? Yes. Yes, I do. I think you should believe that too. Well, we're going to get to that. And how Moneyball, Katie Haun, Bill Clinton, and a supermodel all became tied into this thing at a conference in the Bahamas called SALT. But first, yeah, it did turn out that Sam Bankman-Fried did have about $500 million worth of shares of Robinhood stashed away. What's Robinhood? Well, it lets you trade stocks and crypto without commission fees. Kudos to CNN for using the phrase Robinhood stock intentionally. And just like Robinhood, Sam Bankman-Fried insists that he was keeping hold of the money for good. You see, Sam Bankman-Fried insists that it's his money. It is his money. But he was just putting it aside for a little bit so that he can help his investors later on by trying to, bail them out. And since SBF is so good at segregating customer funds from his own funds, and who should get some money, that totally makes sense. And why wouldn't you believe him? Oh my God, there is so much to get to in this episode. And since we're talking about bailing people out, who are the two people that helped bail out SBF? Because it turns out we're going to find out really soon. A court just recently ordered the two names of the people besides his parents that helped bail him out, that we're going to find out who their names are pretty soon. Unless there's another court order, like an injunction stopping it, we're going to hear on February 7th who those people are. And they gave $500,000 and $200,000 respectively. Yeah. In a previous video, I also told you that it was kind of important for SBF to go to the Bahamas. Why would you put a company in the Bahamas? Well, there's no taxes in the Bahamas. The offshore companies don't need to file statements. There's no laws controlling exchanges of currency in the Bahamas. And he was kind of on top of that, except for a completely different reason. Let's hear what his reasons are.
It's also really important for us to be in a place where we can go on business trips, where there isn't quarantine.
But wait, I thought he was involved in a charity that was supposed to stop future pandemics.
We're going to be giving to a number of different things. I think probably the single biggest thing this year is going to be pandemic prevention.
So he went to the Bahamas in order to be able to have meetings where there's no quarantine, but then he gave a speech in the Bahamas about how you have to spend a bunch of money in order to stop pandemics in the future. Well, anyway, Sam went to the Bahamas and FTX partnered up with SALT. What's SALT? It's not that spice that you put on the table. SALT describes itself as a leadership forum, and it's worth noting that most of the SALT videos that I tried to watch, there was nothing of any consequence discussed whatsoever. Picture that meeting that you're invited to attend at work and you're sitting there bored out of your mind, probably on your phone the entire time because no one says anything of any substance. That's what the SALT conferences seem like they were kind of like. It was May 16th, 2022, when Katie Haun was praised on the stage of SALT for the Crypto State of the Union in the Crypto Bahamas. Michael Lewis was the moderator. If you don't know who Michael Lewis is, he's the author of one of my favorite books, Moneyball. He also did a book called The Big Short. The Big Short, that book on crooked financial dealings? Well, on this day, he was on the stage with SBF and Katie Haun. Let's hear what Michael has to say.
There's a reason men screw it up. They're overconfident. And there's some research showing that women are actually better with money.
Outside of being a little sexist and a little pandering, he's introducing Katie Haun. Katie Haun was a federal prosecutor, and in her words, some of the justices told her to look at the new criminal technology. She had to figure out what Bitcoin was, and she quickly realized that it would be kind of useful to her. Why did she have to know what Bitcoin is? Well, let Katie tell you in her own words.
I always say criminals are great beta testers of new technologies.
Right.
Right? They do make great beta testers. They're always looking for loopholes. It's no different than any other technology. It can be used for good, can be used for bad.
Yeah, I agree. Criminals are good beta testers for new technology. Why don't you look to your right there, Katie? So she decided to start the first crypto task force. That would come in handy if she had just looked to her right just a little bit earlier. Like I said earlier, I'm a big fan of Michael Lewis. But after this event, and after all the cryptocurrency blew up, and after FTX was scandal-ridden, he met with Sam Bankman-Fried in private to talk about making a movie about him. As far as Sam goes, he had a lot to say about those crypto talks in the Bahamas. But this is my favorite quote.
The other thing that I learned, though, and maybe the more impactful thing, was for the first time I had to run a bank account.
Doesn't seem like the kind of guy that you want to hand millions of dollars over to, does it? On earlier videos, I noted that Sam gave a lot of money to different political causes. You can kind of tell which news outlet you're watching by which donations they tend to focus on. Do they talk about how FTX execs gave money to the Santos campaign? Do they talk about how Sam gave money to Majority Forward, a group that helped Democrats? There's so many groups that he's connected to. An organization formed by Joe Lockhart, which is Bill Clinton's former press secretary. Endeavor, a group that is formed by the brother of Democrat power broker Rahm Emanuel. If you look at the list of groups that Sam donated to, well, there's a ton of them. And I invite you to look at all of them at Open Secrets. Open Secrets, in my opinion, is one of the greatest resources out there when you want to find out who's donating money to who and where it came from. Go ahead and check it out. But to me, the most important person on any list here is Bill Clinton. You see, to start, Sam Bankman-Fried spoke at the Clinton Foundation event. That's awkward. But that's not the least of it. You see, Bill Clinton was on the main stage of FTX SALT and joined former Prime Minister Tony Blair to talk about SALT and FTX. In fact, one source puts Bill Clinton's fee at this event at $250,000. You might wonder why I don't have a clip of that event, because it seems like that would be a really cool clip to have with Bill Clinton talking at that event and find out what Bill Clinton has to say about FTX. And what's interesting is you can find a bunch of clips from all the different sections of FTX, a bunch of the main events that were happening at that particular conference, but you can't find the one of Bill Clinton. I'm sure that someone somewhere has a clip of him talking, because it seems like if Bill Clinton was talking at a crypto event, you would have your cell phone out and just take some video of it just for posterity. So someone has one somewhere. You might wonder what Gisele, the supermodel, is doing at this event. It turns out she's the environmental advisor to FTX. So at this particular event, she wanted to give her opinion about effective altruism and how it applies to these kind of things.
What's the point of being here otherwise, right? I mean, I definitely want to be part of the solution and not part of the problem.
Too late. Sam Bankman-Fried is the gift that keeps on giving. And I'm looking forward to the eventual trial. Like, subscribe, do all the things. Check out my other videos. Thanks.